live.
This is what we do. Listen, this is what we do live. You get what you get when it's live.
That's
y'all.
right. That's right. Oh my gosh. Hey,
life
everybody.
is jazz. Life is jazz.
All right. That's an inside joke for the regular viewers and listeners for the Wright Perspective. Brittany continues to believe that life is jazz.
Life is jazz.
And so far, she has not given us supporting statements to
Okay,
support
so
that thesis.
Put your phone on mute, bro.
I know I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Share. All right.
We're good at technology.
Listen.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special live edition of The Wright Perspective. Today, we're going to recap and discuss two movies coming to America.
Can I say one thing before you get started?
Yes.
I am very professional, but right now, so I'm looking at my phone, but it's not unprofessionalism. I'm just sharing the feed.
And also,
listen,
Brittany,
you don't. I was about to say, you don't have to explain that when you're on live on social media. They get it. It's that arena. It's all jazz. It's jazz.
Why are you disrespecting my process? I'm going through my process in the way that my process goes.
You know what? I'm sorry. You were skip bopping and beat bopping a different way. See? I'm sorry.
See, look. See, did you see the irony? She was telling me to play jazz within confines.
She was trying to box you in, bro. She was trying to box you in.
Boxed in.
Yeah.
Listen,
what's going on?
That's part of jazz. That's part of jazz.
That is part of jazz.
Yeah.
That is part of jazz.
It is.
All right, Janai, I'm sorry. Everybody, Janai is going crazy right now because she does not like disorder. So
me? Oh my gosh, I'm a very flexible person. I'm not rigid and very much into schedules and keeping outlines for programming. I don't know what you're talking about.
And you definitely don't have a color-coded schedule right next to your screen right now?
No, I haven't taken copious notes about both of the films I'm going to be reviewing. Of course not.
Oh my God. All right, go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry.
For those who don't know, this is the Wright Perspective podcast, and this is exactly what it is. Okay, it's shenanigans. Okay? So every 2 weeks, our podcast, we release, reviews of television shows and movies that are considered classics by somebody or by us. And then we determine whether they are classics from the Wright Perspective. And today we decided, you know what? We got to do our podcast live today. We're going to recap and discuss two movies coming to America. The one that was original, released in 1988, and also the sequel coming to America with the number 2, released this week, March 4th, 2021. In both of the movies star, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, and just so many other important Black actors and comedians. The original movie was Oscar nominated, and so it has definitely been considered a classic in the comedy world, in the Black community, and beyond. And today we will decide whether that original and its sequel, whether they are classics from the Wright Perspective. So we'll do a recap, and then we'll discuss plot and direction, characters and acting and cinematography and sound and music, and then we'll take a vote using a voting symbol that we pick especially for this set of movies, especially for this discussion. But let's start with intros. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright. I'm the oldest.
I'm Genia Wright. I'm the middle.
Hello, I am Brittany Wright, and I am the youngest.
And can I just stop before we do anything and just call out our flair today? Okay, clearly we are in the moment.
Oh, we're in the moment. We're in the moment.
Brittany got the hair wrap going. I have been waiting for an opportunity to unveil this beautiful metal necklace. Okay. And listen, Aubrey has actually gone.
That's it. I'm in Wakanda.
Zamunda, bro.
Zamunda. The original Wakanda.
But did you know that Wakanda is right next to Zamunda?
Oh, I thought. So
down the street,
opposite of next Doria, opposite side of next Doria.
That's right. That's right. But they don't have no beef. They don't have no beef. It's just all excellence
all
and happiness.
love.
They don't need no beef, yo.
So my bad. I'm in Zamunda. My bad.
And we gotta say hey to Justin and Ashley. They're already commenting. Ashley was like, Janiyah, I am with you. She said, I logged on at 1:29. I was refreshing. Sorry, A-Fake. We love you. Listen, we were skit-scatting and bebopping. Justin was like, wait, I haven't watched it yet. Justin, listen, get out of here.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Get off immediately.
Get out
immediately.
This is about to be all kinds of spoilers.
Unless you don't mind spoilers. There are some people that don't mind a spoiler. If that's
I don't understand those people.
Watch.
I don't understand
if it's not you, circle back later. Well, it's gonna be it'll be on our page, circle back later.
Listen,
okay.
All of it.
Well, y'all, I gotta say, and y'all, I'm so happy we're doing this live. You know, it's so exciting. For those that are actually our regular viewers and listeners, you know that sometimes the stuff we be recapping is from the 50s. We've been taking it way back.
Yeah, we take it back.
Way back.
The first movie ever made.
Yeah, right. And so to have like this really current content is so exciting. It's so fun.
It's fun.
So y'all, what voting symbols are we going to use? We always pick something and we tailor it to the content that is being reviewed. What are we gonna do, y'all? I came up with a couple of ideas.
All right, for anybody who's new, this is my favorite part of the podcast. Is Janiyah's ideas for voting symbols. I love it. But are we doing what symbol for both? Are we doing?
What do y'all think? I could go either way. I mean, so what we're pondering now, y'all, is are we going to do two separate votes? A vote for Coming to America.
Well, we got to do two separate votes.
Yeah. Oh, but then we need two symbols.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Or we could use the same symbol for both votes.
Okay. What's your symbols? I'm ready. Let me.
Well, I would like to say that normally I have a couple of days just to reflect on themes, you know, and I really like to spend time pondering themes, the messages that were both explicitly and implicitly made.
And implicitly, right.
And I didn't have that much time. Normally I will have 3 or 4 symbols for us to ponder where I've really gone deep.
Where you really drilled down and really, I got it. I
like to get in there. Today I have 2. And I think actually both of these could be applied to both movies. And that's why they're good. They're good because they are about both of the movies. Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
The first one is the princely lock, the braid. Now, why is this a good symbol?
I love how she said it. She said it like
she always says it like it's going to be a really good episode.
But it is.
The braid. Because
if you remember at the very beginning of the journey in America at the first movie, he cuts it. And he frees himself in order to move into the new persona where he was breaking tradition. Okay. And in the second movie, his son does the same thing, y'all. Did you see that cycle? How it just was so clear and evident. The son does the same thing.
The super obvious
the lock.
Cycle? Yes, I did.
I didn't even that additional color.
All right. So what was the next one?
All right. And this next one, listen.
Hold
on to your socks, folks. This is a good one.
My socks are taped on.
I hope they're on tight.
We're going all the way to what channel, Janiyah? You going to shock my mind?
Your mind is going to be shocked. We're going to shock your mind.
Hold on.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So, y'all, a bowl of rose petals. Y'all, the basket of rose petals. What? Listen, what was more symbolic of like, you know, their royalty, okay, than literally walking on rose petals, not only out in the streets and in the world, in your own house. Why your own house? You in the palace and you got people throwing rose petals at your feet because you don't just walk on bare ground. I can't
wait to talk about these movies.
Okay, you walk on rose petals when you're royalty. All right. Okay, those are my 2 recommendations, y'all.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, what I'm going to say is with your recommendations. I like the second one better, but I think if we do it, it should be a rose petal.
Just one.
A rose petal. It should be a petal. That should be the symbol. Because the thing about your symbols is they're very intricate. They're very intricate. And you will easily be able to find a rose petal, pop it on this thing if we want it. And
absolutely.
All right. So I feel like, in my opinion, the front runner is rose petal, which came from the rose petal bowl.
Yeah.
So Brittany, do you have any ideas?
Well, I want to let you guys know, while Genia is very methodical, she takes time and does all this. I make mine up in the moment.
And that's why it's awesome.
I go deep in the
That's why it's awesome.
I go deep in the mon.
She goes in the mon. I don't go in the mon. I just be like, what did everybody have? Okay, McDowell.
It's like freestyle rap. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you get in the cipher.
We're very musical.
I got it.
Yeah.
Jazz,
I've been about Listen, it's McDowell's the arcs, the golden
not
arcs.
the arches, the arcs.
The arcs. And also a globe, because of how in the first one they picked the globe.
That's good.
And they turned, and then also for the second one, I was thinking the jet is one that is, because they kept I was like, are they using these jets all night? Because what's happening here?
Let's not get into it yet. We're about to. Don't put a pin in that one. Please put a pin in that one. Because we.
So
all right, good.
The jets.
I already see some hateration is coming. I already see it.
Listen.
Hey, look.
We don't need none of that in this dance.
All right, but so let's.
That's why we are on. That's what we on Zoom and not the dance
jets. Okay, so you said all right. So you said jets,
arcs,
the golden arcs, and a globe.
You know what, y'all? The reason I'm gonna struggle with arcs, okay, is because the arcs were very much a symbol of America. I don't think of them as a symbol of the journey.
Okay. All right, but the globe.
See, but
the arcs brought together the queen and a king.
It's where they
met.
What's
her name?
You right, Lisa.
Thank you.
You right. Can't argue with that. But the globe, y'all.
Listen. Brittany is overriding our anybody can veto any idea rule. And you know why? Because she's the youngest. And somehow the rules always change.
She just does whatever she wants in this life.
She just does whatever she wants.
Whatever she wants. Must be nice.
Why do we still get confused about that?
Well, we're talking about reality.
But it is funny. It is funny that Aubrey would raise it.
Justin said in the chat, "I'm here for the youngest." I got friends over here.
And Justin, just when I thought we were moving into a closeness, I see we won't have that. And I just want to say that Aubrey raising up the topic of vetoes at all is problematic. Okay, because as the oldest, Aubrey invented the veto. I mean, some of my earliest memories is of Aubrey canceling everybody else's idea.
Session. This is not a therapy session.
I was never taken seriously. Because Aubrey,
as a group of siblings, we have things we working out, and we're
his
sorry
credibility as the oldest
that we got distracted for a second.
Swaying them, he had them wrapped around.
Janai, bring it back. Bring it back. I'm sorry.
And shout out to Toya, one of the snow angels. She's in the room.
Hey, Toya.
Shout out to Toya. Now, listen.
Aubrey, are you about to preach? What's happening here?
Yeah, also,
listen.
What else is new?
Well,
sexual chocolate.
All right, so listen. Okay, so can I give my one? I only had one idea.
Okay.
I had two, but I vetoed the one for myself.
You still have to share it now that you said
was cool was Baybar, because I thought it was cool seeing Baybar growing up. But
and you know that was a children's book, bro.
Janaya, yes.
Did you know that? Okay.
You mean the book that we got read many times? Yes, I do that. All right, but the one I liked the most was A Crown.
So, and I would really like for someone to mention the fact that I didn't mention drugs because they did smoke weed in this.
You're doing so good.
And now she's mentioned it.
You were doing so good.
She was. And all has gone awry.
Oh my gosh. It's coming to America. How does she do it?
This very clean, family-friendly set of movies.
We should have never reviewed The Wire. Okay.
So who's going to, which one are we going to go with? And are we going to do the same for both?
I'm open.
You know what? I got to say, I really kind of like The Globe.
I like The Globe.
I also, though, the princely lock. I don't want us to discount that. The other thing I'm going to make
lock hanging off of the Globe.
And that doesn't feel like an option we should consider. But the other thing about the lock that I want to name is that what also makes it good is that it's only about the men. Do you see? And that's part of the story that this movie is telling. It is about the way that women have been situated. In these societies. And that's why the lock is good, because guess what it does? It excludes women.
See, Janai,
but that's what makes the rose petals good, because every royal person walked on the rose petals. So the basket of rose petals is something that's relevant for all the royal characters.
Listen, you just said you like Globe. I like Globe. Brittany came up with Globe. I think Globe is great.
All right. Well, I would love to hear what the people in the chat think, Brittany. I can roll with it. I'm a very flexible person, as we discussed earlier. But I want to just see what the people in the chat think, Brittany.
I just want to say,
I will tell you,
is there a preference?
Shout out to cousin T. She is here. We love you. A shout out to Sean. Sean said that she would just like to be on here just so she could be an ass. Sean T, we can't have you on here if you're going to be being an ass.
And that box is checked. And we don't have to get into specifics of who it is, but I think we all
know.
I think we all know who it is.
This is what I'm saying, Janelle.
We've got one of those.
We all like Globes. And I just want to say that you all are taking your picks very personally today. For some reason. You're very defending your picks. And all I'm saying is Janelle likes to make ideas like, well, you know, when they got out of the cab, there was a candle soup can on the street. And I was thinking that really speaks to the sociology of the entire background of the movie.
The
juxtaposition between, you know. But I will tell you this: I love the Globe.
All right, I think we'll go with Globe. But I hope everyone got a chance to see like just how that dynamic played out of like, you know, someone really putting some thought and preparation in, and then that being discounted for someone who just like comes up with something on a whim. And
you know this is a video, right?
And then there's a ganging up there's a ganging up. Did everyone catch it?
We need to get into this.
I just want to make sure
I'll pick something right now.
Okay, it's Globe.
It's Globe. But I would like to tell you, to where you said you didn't put any thought into it. So
I didn't put as much.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Can we just do
Mara made sure to say Janaya steamrolled over that suggestion. She was like, look, Janaya went right back to the tail. And then Sean wanted us to be very clear, okay? She is very good at academic analysis of film. She said she's just being asked by saying she should be on the podcast. We got you, girlfriend. I see what you're saying.
It's so good. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is so good. Well, you're right.
So Janelle, all right, yeah. So because we're way off schedule.
We are.
And
schedule.
Janelle, are they long recaps or short recaps?
I don't even get a chance to start, bro, before you're being
critical. Oh no, I'm just curious. I love all your recaps.
They're short, bro. They're short.
I'm just curious.
They're short, bro.
I was literally just curious.
Okay.
All
well,
right.
The answer to your question is they're short. Okay, bro.
All right. Break it down, sis.
This is so good, y'all. And this
Break it down, sis.
This is where if y'all have not seen these movies and you don't like spoilers, we always do a
Get
recap
out.
at the top.
Get out.
Because it's sometimes you haven't seen something in a while, or you haven't seen it at all, but you still want to enjoy the podcast. And so that's why we do a recap. So first, we will look at the first movie, Coming to America, from the 80s. I'm sorry. Yes, from the 80s, from 1988. So this movie, it is about, we meet Prince Akeem, okay? And he is the prince in a beautiful, lush, peaceful country in Africa called Zamunda. And we get to see a life that is completely pampered. He doesn't even have to brush his own teeth, wash his own private parts. He gets awakened not by an alarm clock, but by an orchestra, okay? He walks on rose petals even around his own house, okay? We meet him on his 21st birthday, and traditionally that would also be the day when he gets married to the wife that has been chosen for him. This wife has spent her entire life being groomed to be a wife and to serve him. But he doesn't want her. He wants a wife that has had her own life experiences. And so he hatches a plan to go to America to find a wife. Now, his father, the king, thinks that Hakeem is only going to America to sow his wild oats. And so he gives the green light for the trip. Prince Hakeem and his servant and best friend, Simi, they decide to go to Queens in New York because they're trying to find a queen. But of course, they end up in a poverty-stricken area, and they decide to take on these fake personas. They pretend to be two poor college students from Africa working at a fast food place. And listen, Prince Akeem is loving it. Okay, he finds so much novelty in living poorly and having a job because he has never had to do anything like that. Eventually, though, he does find a woman that piques his interest. Her name is Lisa McDowell. And she is beautiful and smart and dealing with her own challenges, honestly, related to her father trying to tell her who to marry. Okay, so they fall in love pretty quickly. And unfortunately, they fall in love before he gets a chance to reveal his true identity. But it is revealed for him when his father and mother, the king and the queen of Zamunda, come to retrieve him from America so that he can marry his intended wife back in Zamunda. Lisa feels betrayed because she has been betrayed. And Akeem gets her, he tries to get her back by letting her know that he doesn't care about his wealth. He doesn't care about the prestige. And he certainly doesn't care about the dumb tradition of arranged marriages. But she rejects him and he is heartbroken. And he decides to just go ahead and give in to tradition and marry the wife that was picked for him. But we are all delighted because at the end, Lisa surprises him at the altar. The queen had managed to help the king understand that arranged marriage was a tradition that needed to be let go of. And so they arranged the whole thing for Lisa and Akeem to get married. And that's where the first movie ends. And then
I think we should discuss now, and you should go back to the recap before we do the second one. What do you think?
I kind of want to discuss them both together.
Honestly. Okay, good.
But let's let Brittany be. Brittany, what do you think? Discuss them both together or discuss them one at a time?
That's hard. I want
to do both. I do want, because it's like, how can you talk about the second one?
Because if we're talking about Coming to America, I feel like it deserves its own discussion.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about both of them.
Okay.
And then we can talk about both of them.
Okay.
Because listen, well, first of all, I don't think we need to even vote. I mean, are we, or the first one?
All content must have a vote.
Okay? We're going to vote. Yes, I agree with. I understand. I'm just saying.
Not that I'm rigid, because I'm not. I'm a very flexible person. So.
I don't think you're skit-scatting and bebopping over there.
I've never been good at it.
I love it. Okay, listen. All I'm saying is, all right. Let me just say, Coming to America, the original Coming to America, I truly believe is a pretty close to perfect movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I love everything about it.
Bro, that's a big statement.
I mean, I do. Seriously.
Close to perfect? That's a big statement, bro.
For me, because I'm going to tell you why. The pacing, the mood, the visuals, the music, everything was so good. But beyond that, it was the comedy. And it wasn't comedy that was funny right then. They had comedic moments in that movie that resonate till now and will always resonate. You could go anywhere and say, she's your queen. Yeah. Everybody is already on board. Even people who haven't seen the movie.
And I say, aha, all the time. I say it all the time. I actually say it all the time. Yeah. Iconic.
So, I mean, just right from the beginning, when just the shock value of, you know, when you see them in a pool and then and see, at that point, we weren't even prepared for it. We didn't even know what was going on with his face or whatever. And then she just pops up and they're like, oh, so this is what type of movie it's about to be.
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Listen, and there's some people out here that think they got royal penises.
All right, we're going to keep this positive. So
it's funny because it's true.
And when they were going through all of his getting ready rituals and you know, like when he was about to go to the bathroom, and he said, "May I not wipe my own
for once, I would like to wipe my own ass."
And he just laughed at him. He was like, "Wipe us."
he said, "Very funny, Your Highness. Very funny." You know,
white person. And we're just getting started. You see what I'm saying? Like we're just getting started, and seeing them interact with, even when they do simple stuff like the long table, right? When they're trying to eat, and it's just like, why are we at this table? And even if we are, why are we sitting at opposite sides?
Far away? Why are we so far away?
We're so far away.
What is going on?
It's so funny.
Oh my God, so funny. Going
you to know, I appreciate, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know. Okay, because I ain't done no research. I just watched the movie. But I appreciate kind of Eddie Murphy going into his imagination of what he believes a kingdom is like. Like,
oh my God,
I don't even have to wipe my ass. Like, I
will say the story is by Eddie Murphy, but the actual screenplay, I was surprised to see he didn't write that screenplay. The screenplay was by David Sheffield and Barry Blaustein. And
really?
So, but the story is by Eddie Murphy. So I think you're right, sis, that this is his vision, but I just want to name he didn't write it, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
Man, and I'm gonna just tell you,
and it was directed by John Landis.
And just think about how, like, when they did the visuals in the beginning, just everything was just great right from the beginning. And then it was funny from the beginning. It didn't ramp up to it. And then it just kept getting funnier and funnier. Mm-hmm. So like when they transitioned to the United States, I mean, like,
listen,
it's just awful. It's so many. And even when they were like, and the other thing, Arsenio Hall and him are like peanut butter and chocolate. They are perfect together. And
can I just say that I want to just admit to the world that I have not been given Arsenio Hall the credit that he deserves in this here life. Okay. Arsenio, because he is talented. So funny. And you know,
and subtle. He's not.
And I
He's
think
not
about
overbearing with it.
He really isn't. And the way that both Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall played those many characters, and the characters were actually quite unique and so funny in their own rights. I mean, these characters were completely unique that they were playing. and they each played multiple characters. And Arsenio Hall, I was like, my goodness, this man could have been on In Living Color. You know what I mean? He is funny. And I've never thought of him as funny as he is. I just hadn't been giving him that credit. You know.
Just the way, like, even when they were walking through the airport, excuse me, they got all these suitcases and stuff, and it's like, remember, we're just nobody can know.
Blend
and they're
in.
so far from reality that they truly believe they're blended in. And then, I mean, we literally it's like almost every moment, like when they get to the neighborhood and they, and
I want to shout out T. T made a very good point. She said, I forgot that Coming to America 1 was rated R. She said, because I've watched the TV version so many times. So it's so true. Like, if you're not watching it, exactly. Yes, BT, VH1, MTV, like that is such a key point. So you forget
that this movie was off the hook.
You're like, oh snap, there's breast and booty and cursing. Okay. It's every which way. Yeah. It's every which way.
It was so funny.
It was off the hook.
And we forgot to name some of the cast members, bro, when you were talking about Life in Zamunda. Y'all, James Earl Jones as the king.
How could I not? But he's James Earl Jones, right? You know, but
oh my God.
But I'm just telling you,
so good.
But if I sat here and thought for 5 days about actors who could have played that character in the way he played, I just can't think of anybody who would have.
There's no one else.
His voice, his presence, his just how everything about him was just perfect.
Perfect. And even the mom who played the queen, Madge Sinclair, she played Queen Aeolian Joffer. Oh, listen, she had queenliness oozing out of her. She was so
classic.
Oh my gosh,
she was
so good. The casting,
she was perfect. She was dope.
Perfect.
She passed away not too long after that movie, though. She passed in the 90s, and that made me sad because I was like, man, I would have loved to have seen her in 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and she would probably look exactly the same.
Yeah,
man, what?
As she looked right now.
Come on, what? Yes, you already know. She looked exactly the same.
Can we please go to the States though? When they first walked in, like, first of all, everything. I mean, we can't talk about all the funny stuff because we'll literally discuss the whole movie, but. After they went into that ratchet, the apartment building, and after that, and then when they went to the barbershop, just like you said, I mean, like, there are people who do character actors, who do that type of stuff, but nobody does it better than Eddie, in my opinion.
I agree with you, bro.
I mean, Martin, the first 3 seasons, I think Martin is close, but like Eddie just smashes that.
And Arsenio though, bro, I gotta tell you.
No doubt, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Such a good job at being those alter egos.
You're absolutely
so
right.
good, so good.
And the conversation was just like if you ever go to a barbershop, especially during that time, like, that's how it is. You know, that's how it is. You got the old school barbers just talking stuff, and a lot of it, I don't want to.
Him with that plate. Every time I see him with that plate,
oh my God, it's so real. It's so real.
What's going on with this plate?
Real. And anytime you go to any place where there are senior citizen Black people, there's always one white person. Let's just go ahead and say it. There's always a white person there. There's just one. And they made it. They had one white guy in this barbershop. And that just rang so true. And it's very New York. It's very New York.
Let me tell you, when he was playing that character, and he was like, if a man wants to be called Muhammad Ali, this is America. We should respect his wishes and call the man Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad.
Man, it still gets me.
The response was such old black man. His mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. That's what I'm
Clay. Yes.
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
It's so perfect.
It was so good.
The mannerisms, the dialogue, just the delivery of every single line. So perfect. It rang so true. We know those people. We know those people. We know them men.
Hey, look, that's a beautiful segue because we also know, as some of you know, we spent many a day in church growing up every week. And we've all been to those types of, because in the barbershop where they determine, okay, you know, Prince Hakeem is looking for some, well, they don't know he's a prince. They just know he's somebody looking for a place to go get some women. And they suggest you go down to this, you know, rally that's going on. And it's ran. And I'm going to just tell you, man, Arsenio just killed that preacher. I mean, like, it was just
so
because like that is so how,
and even community rallies. That's how.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's how it feels.
That whole experience, and what was so good about that scene was the fact that it felt familiar in terms of we all been to that rally 25 times, and in fact, as Wright children in Pittsburgh, we helped plan those rallies.
Yes, several of them.
Okay,
many our entire lives. Okay,
yes,
but
the only difference is instead of McDowell's, it would have been fried chicken and Wonder Bread.
And a tossed salad with two
ingredients. And a tossed salad, yes.
Listen,
iceberg lettuce and tomatoes.
Don't hold on, no. You're forgetting the parfait punch and you're forgetting the linguine. Don't
and the linguine, yes.
Don't forget the linguine salad.
Don't forget the linguine.
And so we all know.
At some point, our father realized that Walmart made good fried chicken for cheap. Oh, baby. Lord, every single event.
Baby.
Fried chicken. That's another story. But what's so good about that scene, you have to remember, like, this is a preacher at a community rally that is about Black awareness. It's Black Awareness Week is the reason for the rally. And guess what's on the stage? A row full of women and Black women in bikinis. So even in this space that's supposed to be about awareness, and now has this religious thing.
Even how he's talking about them.
Right. He said, only God could create something.
He said, you have no. He can take a picture.
But he can't make it. But
in that one scene, there are so many iconic parts that we just all say all the time.
Brittany.
Like anytime I say it all the time. I'm very happy to be here.
All the time. What about him? That boy is good. That boy is good.
I said all the other things.
I'm very happy to be here, Brittany. That is like that. I mean, if you could take your mind back to when the first time you saw that was a hilarious moment because he was just so happy.
Yes.
He literally said it. He was like.
Everybody was because people were yelling out churchy yell outs like hallelujah, praise the Lord.
He don't know nothing about that. He don't know nothing about that.
He don't know how to do it.
He don't know nothing about that.
But just like we do, he said it and everybody co-signed. Everybody's like, praise the Lord, hallelujah. He's so happy to be here. It was so good. And y'all, Randy Watson, Eddie Murphy's Randy Watson character on Sexual Chocolate. Sexual chocolate. Listen, our late Aunt Emily, Aunt Emily quoted that scene all the time. Anytime someone was doing a poor performance of something, Aunt Emily would be like, sexual chocolate. Anytime.
Sisters.
She did it all the time.
But that timing.
Sisters.
That comedic timing.
Listen. I know we normally do for This Is Us. We need a 2-second reflection for how good Randy Watson is.
So good.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're back.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah.
So
can I tell you something? I want to tell y'all something. Okay. I had the opportunity to watch this movie with somebody. Okay. And there was an assertion made that I want to put forth to the room and to the world via this podcast. Was Randy Watson the very first mic drop? Because he dropped that mic. He finished singing and he dropped the mic. Is that performance the origins of the mic drop?
You know what? I'm not even.
Does anybody know?
Can I tell you this? I'm not researching that because in my mind, it is now the first mic drop.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to believe that it's the first mic drop.
Yes.
And it's at least the first most epic mic drop. Because
and at least in the movie, it's got to be.
And
I'm just saying that whole I'm gonna
dropping the mic when he was done because he thought and he was stomping sexual chocolate.
I mean the whole like because we're watching this and it's already so funny. It's already funny to the high level. And then they bring on Randy Watson. Now we don't know what to expect. We see Eddie coming on, so we know it's going to be funny. But the thing I love about what they both do, they don't overdo it in this movie.
They do not.
It's like it was just the perfect amount. And you can really see, we've seen the local singers. We know that's how it is.
We all had people that were singing at every event, and some of them were great, and some of them were not. But they were at
they do
every
not.
Event.
It's the confidence in the fact that they're available. It is the confidence and your availability
and
that keeps you at these events.
And they will perform for a plate of chicken from Walmart, pasta salad with iceberg lettuce and tomato. Linguine
$10.
That's your fee. That's your fee.
When he was sing talking, man, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
That you love.
He's a well hand. Let them do it.
But you know what, you guys? One thing we did skip over.
Give them a sense of pride.
Since I know where you're going, go there. Go there.
We skipped over the bar.
I knew it.
We skipped over the bar, which was another way of showing how Arsenio Hall.
Oh yeah! Oh my goodness, Brittany!
We skipped over the bar.
My name is Peaches, and I'm the best. All the
DJs want
feel my breast. Yeah,
and I want to be a singer and a writer and an author. But what I really want to do is my act.
I brought this lighter from the drawer.
This is our first time out since the doctor separated us.
But you know what
I need a real man that can handle me.
Because you got to put in overtime. And then, of course, Arsenio, listen.
I
want to tear you apart.
Good.
And your little friend too.
Oh my gosh. So
I only date a man if he has a BMW.
That perspective. Because always we hear women talking about there's some weirdos out here. Getting a chance to see the men's perspective, they're going to the bar every night and it's like, what is
going on?
Wrong?
They
These
were
are not
running.
queens. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I have to ask, which one was your favorite out of all of those women in the bar? Which one was your favorite? I gotta tell you, that girl who's just talking and talking. I want to be a pop star, but really I want to be a rock star. But people tell me that I have so much. I'm sorry, y'all. That is what made me like I want to fall down and like pee my pants. It was so. All of them were funny, but her character in particular, to me, was just hilarious. What if each of you had to pick a favorite? Who would you pick as your favorite bar woman or duo?
I would probably say I was her, but then I also really like when the twins come up. When they are like, I'm the teachers. The rapping twins. Okay. Or the DJs want to fill my breast. I was like,
listen,
why is this
the funny thing is,
table? What is going on?
And why do you say that to your date? Why do you want your date to know that the DJs want to fill you up? Is that
this was the 80s, baby. This is the 80s.
The girl that said, I'm into, I said, don't forget the one that says, I'm into the group thing. She,
oh, yeah. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Like her lingerie at the bar. What is going on?
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
But that Joan of Arc
Oh my gosh, because Joan of Arc, why are you at this club?
But listen,
who brought you here?
Why is she there? Why is she there? And not only that, she looked crazy. Like if you went home with her, you
ain't coming back.
Maybe on the back of a milk carton, like that chick.
You're dead.
Look,
you're dead.
Bonkers.
You dead.
All right, so let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So
good.
After Randy Watson, that's when he saw Lisa, and then that's what led him to go get the job at.
No, you also
at McDowell's.
You also meet that asshole that Eric LaSalle played. What was his name again?
Soul Glow.
The boyfriend, Soul Glow.
Yeah. Let me just tell y'all. I mean, there's just too many funny parts in this movie, but let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Like, yo, let me tell you something, man. That is side splitting humor right
It's hilarious.
And like
his name was Daryl. Daryl was Eric LaSalle's character.
Daryl.
Yeah.
And he was just perfect. I mean,
he was so perfect.
Daryl let the plate go past him. I mean,
he didn't make a donation.
Nothing.
Oh, and
nothing. And here's this difference between privilege happening, right? And he wants Akeem's character, who has never had to wipe his own butt a day in his life, is excited to do common things, right?
Wipe us?
He is excited to mop at McDowell's, right? He's taking out trash. He is cheesing, right?
Sis, pause for Akeem trying to mop. See, this is where there are people who can write things that are funny, and then there is comedy, y'all. And whoever came up with Akeem trying to mop, and then in the McDowell's, and he's like, you know how to mop yet, right? And Akeem's like, yes. He takes the mop in the bucket and proceeds to just move the bucket around with the mop in it. Y'all, who came up with that?
Don't deal with the bucket, son. It'll just confuse.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
And John Amos. We'll get on him, but he has some zingers too.
We can talk about it now. We can talk about
it. But we can't.
Britt had a point, and I paused it.
But the difference between, and then you have Eric LaSalle, who has rich as well. His father came up with Soul Glow, but he is how you would think Prince Akeem would be. He is rude. He is disrespectful. He is cheap. He is an asshole. He is all of the above.
He's so entitled.
Oh, he's so entitled.
Oh my God.
America. Hashtag America.
Okay? So true. So true.
Listen, it was such a difference how they just did these subtle things that were happening.
What was it? What was the guy's name in the what's the is it
Louie Anderson?
Louie Anderson.
Yeah, he played Maurice. Who's an employee at McDowell's.
Man, and it's just Brittany made me think about what she was talking about when she was talking about Daryl, because when Akeem and Semi fought the burglar, when he fought
Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson.
Listen,
that was such a good scene.
And the other thing about that was another thing that made the movie good is that it had elements of other things. So like it had a little dabble of action, and it was good action. Like when they were fighting in the beginning, when they were sparring in the beginning, and then it gave the context of why he was able to do what he did, because it still would have been a cool scene, but it was like for us it was a rap. That's what I'm saying. It made sense. It made sense. Well, it all worked together. So
he even didn't say I'm gonna beat your ass. He said I'll be forced to thrash you.
Yes,
forced to thrash you. Now
listen. So when someone says thrash, you need to be scared.
He got beat down, but he didn't just get beat down by a person who was angered beyond being able to control him. He got beat down by a dude who was just very calm. Like, I will beat you down.
Yeah, I'll be forced to thrash you.
I don't want to beat you down. but you're about to catch this beat down if you don't refrain from using these obscenities around these women and children. And man.
Y'all, you know what? One of these days we have to do a Wright Perspective podcast series where we do like who's the best bad guy, who's the best crackhead in all the movies. We're gonna have to do who's the best hold up man, or like, because I'm sorry, Samuel Jackson, that character, according to what I pulled up online, his character was just called Hold Up Man. So for him to be so memorable when his character didn't even have a name. He did such a good oh my God, we forgot to call out Cuba Gooding Jr. as a random extra in the barbershop. But y'all,
and he wasn't even cutting it.
Listen, y'all, oh my gosh, so I thought Samuel Jackson was so good.
He was good. Scene. I mean, and you can see in so that
because he was so mean in a way that was funny.
And in those couple of minutes, you understand why he's the man now.
Exactly.
You understand. And the thing is that he has fun with his roles.
Yes,
and
he
like
does.
He doesn't take himself seriously.
Yes, he does.
He's like, snakes on the plane, I'm in. And that's why he's the man. That's why he's the man. It's just like,
oh, you're right.
I'll do the serious
stuff.
stuff.
That's why he's Shaft. You're right.
But I'll do the serious stuff. But guess what? I have fun. I enjoy. He seems like he enjoys his roles, and it just comes across in that.
Yeah.
And all right, we got to keep moving because
there's so
like I said,
much.
we can talk. So after
you were talking about him height. You were about to talk about Eric LaSalle's Daryl because you were talking about that fight scene. I think you were about to talk about Daryl.
Yeah, well, I'm saying you made me think about Daryl, which made me go to the fight scene because. After, think about Daryl because of how he reacted afterwards. Like, I would have did something, but
Oh my God.
And that Joker was hiding.
Oh,
and
I think he was ducking behind a baby carriage, if I recall correctly.
Man.
He was hiding behind a person. He was hiding behind a person.
So
and bro, I do want to say Akeem didn't say women and children. He said customers. Because I was expecting him to say women and children. But he said customers, and I was like, "Oh,
well, y'all."
No. But you saying that, I was like, "Oh," I was looking for him because I thought he said women and children too. And then when he said customers, it caught me off guard. I was like, "Oh, he said everybody," which makes sense though because he's a prince and he's concerned about a country. You have to be concerned about everybody. Like
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was gonna say we can't leave that scene and the conversation of McDowell's without talking about two things. First of all, Louie Anderson. Y'all, for those who don't know, when we do our podcast, we try not to do research. We try not to do a whole bunch of looking into stuff because we don't want it to color. But there was I was watching one of the night shows. I think it might've been Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know. And they were interviewing Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. And Eddie Murphy was in Arsenio Hall shared this story that the production company told them they had to have a white actor. And they gave them a list of 3 white comedians and said, pick one, but one of them has to be in this film. And they picked Louie Anderson because he was the funniest on the list, they said. And they wouldn't name who else was on the list. They said everybody on the list was funny. All 3 of them were funny, but we had to pick one. And we picked Louie Anderson because they knew him already and he was funny. And they had a thing in the movie where they were intentionally employing comics, so.
Wow. Oh, and it works.
It totally works.
And look, I think we should all kind of try to summarize or maybe bring up the one or two because we need
to. But bro, are we not going to talk about McDowell's and the fact that it's basically McDonald's? We're not going to get into that. I mean, the fact that, he literally is like copying McDonald's. There's so many things they could have done. They could have actually made it a McDonald's. But the fact that they chose to make it a co-opt of an established chain, I have to tell you, I have never seen that until I moved to New York. There is a store, 1 or just 2 blocks from my apartment, where there's a 7-Eleven, and across the street there's a bodega called 11-7. It's just real. This is real. I should go take a picture of that corner and put it in when we post this podcast.
Definitely, you need to take a picture.
Real. And if you see it in New York all the time, it's like you're clearly knocking off something in a way that's like you're not disguising it at all. That's a New York thing. I thought that was another one of those things. It's like the mop, where it's like, who came up with this? It's just hilarious.
I mean, I feel it's just crazy because like I want to recap the funny parts, but
we have to keep going. You're right.
Every part
manage our time, bro.
Every part is a funny part. Part. I'll rapid fire.
Keep us moving.
Where they were in the house. I mean, there's just so many. Bottom line, there's so many funny parts. But when they were in the house, and Arsenio was like, "See, I love the Lord, and if the love of the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right." You know, and just
I thought about
we have
Brittany.
all heard that.
Brittany, I know you were cracking up on that part.
I'm just saying that.
Oh my gosh.
And the how they all had the stuff on the chair. But the other thing I want to speak to is juice. In this movie, when the parts got serious, it was also well acted. So like when they had like when he was talking to Lisa or when he was in those moments of seriousness, it doesn't make you cringe because it's like a lot of times comedic actors don't do both well. So, but like Eddie would transfer from that, you know, super funny stuff to that serious thing where he's really expressing his heart to somebody.
Yes.
You feel it. You know what I mean? And man, that was just why, in my mind, that was another thing that made the movie good was because yes, it is hilarious, but it's also extremely well acted all the way through that.
I do have a question because I always forget what this is. The two homeless people. Mortimer.
Trading.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And that was a great throwback.
Love that.
You know what I mean? Like that was an awesome Easter egg throwback, even before that stuff happened too much. And basically, I mean, have you guys seen Trading Spaces?
Yes.
I've probably seen pieces of it, but not the whole
movie.
Long
story short, those two were the antagonists in that movie.
Don Amici and Ralph Bellamy. They're reprising their roles as Mortimer and Randolph Duke from the comedy Trading Places from 1983, which Eddie Murphy was in.
And they
I didn't even know that.
At the end of the movie, in Trading Places, they ended up, they were hedge fund managers in the beginning, but by the end, they were completely broke and destitute. And so it was just a shout out to like what, because it was curious, you know, what are they doing now? And that's probably another movie we should do, by the way.
We should definitely do that one. I'll put it on the list.
Do that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great. Even that was great. I mean, it's just, like we didn't talk about the dance. We didn't talk about the dance number coming in.
Oh, gosh.
Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Which like you're going into this comedy movie.
Classic.
And when those dancers come in, that was Alvin Ailey straight up. That was a real deal. Like, this is amazing.
And the juxtaposition of like that high level of choreography and intensity, and then she's your queen.
They knew how to take you in and out. They knew how to take you in and out.
That is just such a good example of why this movie is so good. Because it ramped you so far up. And then just that oh gosh.
Now I was watching the mom, the queen, and Sheila. Her name is Sheila, but she's just this woman, I guess that's an assistant in the movie. She just has no lines, but she's gorgeous. They were standing behind him while he was singing that. And I saw both. I was watching both of them, and they were both trying not to laugh so hard. I know they were both like, I just hate that I'm in this shot right now.
Y'all, can I please just read the lyrics real fast? Real fast. I know, bro, you're trying to move us on. She's your queen to be. You know, bro.
I know, but I gotta sing it.
Please do. I think the world would love for you to do that right now.
Pick up your microphone. I can't hear you, bro. I can't hear you, bro.
She's your queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who'll do whatever His Highness desires. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection to quench your royal fire, completely free from infection.
But he nailed it.
To be used at your discretion, waiting only for your direction. Your queen to be. Now, can I just say, this movie, those lyrics, listen, if you hadn't picked it up yet, this was a misogyny. Like, they wanted to make sure that you were not going to miss the fact that women were not being treated well or fairly in this society, that women were being objectified. They wanted to make sure, in case you're not getting it quite yet, women are not being treated well here. You know,
listen,
not that they were being treated poorly, but they also just didn't have the same opportunities. Okay, they were clearly being objectified. That song to me, it was hilarious and, and served purposes.
That's good.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote. I mean, do we need? Yes, we're going to vote.
I wonder, did they just give him the lyrics and let him sing it how he wanted to sing?
Look,
was there a singing coach who was like, no, desire? Like, who told him to hit that?
I mean,
before we vote, I just have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. The end of the movie.
More to discuss.
Do you all feel like they should have ended her saying, nah? Did y'all like the ending like that?
Hated it.
As opposed
with
to
a
what?
capital H.
I don't know. I don't know what she would have said. I just want to know.
So after they get married, Hakeem is like, I'll give all this up for you if you want. And she's like, nah. How can a movie that has lyrics like the lyrics of She's Your Queen to Be have a closing line like, nah? I hate it, sis. I'm happy you named it. All she had to do was say something like, let me think about it. Or something like, I don't think so. Or yeah, right, sucker. Anything other than
I always thought that.
I hate the nah.
I always thought that the way I always heard it was she was like making fun, like she knew what she was doing. Like she was like, I'm talking about if you were doing that in real life. If you were in real life and we were having a conversation and you were just trying to be funny, like obviously, like I'm saying now, like I had to think about this. Like, no. It's like that's how I got.
Like,
that's how I took it. I didn't take it like,
bro. That's how we have to take it in order to forgive it.
But that's how I took it. Like, I don't think it didn't come across as that's how she was really reacting. Like, I felt like she was.
I just thought they could have conveyed that sentiment differently without that.
All right, well,
Brittany, when did you brought it up? You brought it up, sis. What did you think of the nah? Nah.
I didn't like it, but I'm used to it now. It's like
you knew it was coming.
Yeah, it never moved me either way, to be honest. Like, and by the end, the movie had already did so much for me that
everything.
I mean,
y'all, I have to say one more thing about the first movie. It's a line that the preacher said. When he was after her father and Daryl got together and just made her engaged to Daryl without her permission. Arsenio Hall, as the preacher, comes up to her and says, I'm going to pray for you. And he starts preaching at her. And he says, he got Gilligan off the island.
Off the island.
I'm sorry. I just cannot move on without saying he got Gilligan off the island.
I'm just saying we could, that's why it's just, we got to vote, because the whole movie is like, everything is a moment. It's like watching Friday. Yeah. Everything is a moment.
What about one more thing on there, bro. Because of course I'm scrolling through my notes, challenging myself to sacrifice all the top-notch little tidbits I wanted to discuss. Bro, what about when Eric LaSalle breaks the fourth wall? Did y'all catch that when he looks at the camera?
With the you mean after the young
when he comes in from the
rave? He comes in from the rave.
Yeah.
I think that's worth noting because I just thought it was just. This is why this movie is so good. Yeah. I just can't, anyway, I know we got to move on, bro. You're right.
I know, because we definitely did talk about our little sister who was clearly a hoe.
And watch it.
Look, I'm just telling you. Look,
and there's so much to talk about
if we can recap all the good moments, it'll be 2 hours.
But what about the fact that the light-skinned sister is wholesome and the dark-skinned sister is
Janiyah.
Okay.
Colorism. She says it in the movie. She says she always gets the good ones. I said, girl.
Janiyah and Brittany.
It's like Gina. It's
sisters,
like Gina and
sisters.
Martin.
Sisters. All right.
Gina and Pam.
Yes. This movie gets my globe. Obviously. Janiyah, does Coming to America a classic in your perspective?
Yes. This movie. Yes, Coming to America gets my globe.
Oh, absolutely. Coming to America gets my globe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way that we always talk about whether an old movie can be a classic from the right perspective is if it holds up. And boy, does this movie hold up. And it's going to hold up 10 years from now. It's going to hold up 20 years from now. It is funny. And there are so many things about it that have just made their way into our normal set. That movie is a part of the culture. It is impacted culture from the mic drop. Okay. Aha, she's your queen to be. Like, these are iconic things. Yes. And they will always be. Future generations will be singing She's Your Queen to Be at people's weddings. Okay. Because it's hilarious, y'all. So yes,
it's hilarious.
That's 3 globes. Coming to America from 1988 is a classic from the right perspective. Woo-hoo!
All right. Now let's go to this next one.
Let's go to the next
one. Break it down,
sis. Your tone is telling us something. Okay. So the second movie, fast forward 30 years, Coming to America, number 2, Coming to America. Akeem and Lisa have been happily married for 30 years. Zamunda has somehow become even more beautiful and more prosperous. They have 3 smart, fierce, beautiful, determined daughters, and they seem to have a really lovely family dynamic. Akeem's mother, the queen, has already passed away, and the father, the king, is dying. And there's a problem. There is no male heir to take over the kingdom, which is the tradition. So there is an option on the table that's not ideal, and that is for Akeem to marry his daughter to a prince from a neighboring kingdom called Nextdoria. But that's not ideal because, first of all, the relations with that kingdom, they're clearly not super awesome. Okay. And remember that Akeem does not believe in arranged marriage. So he doesn't want to force that on his kids. Then, shortly before the king dies, a mystic in the kingdom reveals that Akeem does have a son back in Queens. And Akeem is like, what are you talking about? He has no memory of sleeping with any woman during his American adventure other than Lisa. He's the only one that he was targeting. But eventually, as he's reminiscing with Semi, he does realize that there was a night where he and Semi were out and they got some woman from the club, and Akeem had actually gotten a contact high, and he did actually have sex with a woman, and he didn't even remember that it happened. And so Akeem and Semi go back to Queens to find that son and the rightful heir to the throne of Zamunda. We get a chance to see them, reunited with some of the people from the original trip to Queens, and they relive some key moments. He does find his son named Lavelle Johnson and convinces him to come back to Zamunda to take over the throne. Lavelle and his mother make their way to Zamunda, and Lavelle has to pass 3 tests to demonstrate that he's able to be a prince. The tests are of courage and culture and critical thinking. And listen, he's preparing for those tests. He's getting accustomed to the culture. He's also, kind of adding his own little, flavors to the mix. And he's actually fine. with the idea of arranged marriage, you know, and so he agrees to marry a princess from Nextdoria. You know, he's fine with it. Akeem wasn't putting it on him, but unfortunately, he makes that agreement to that marriage without fully knowing the context. He didn't know that it would solve a problem between the two countries. And he also makes that agreement before he falls in love with a woman that works in the castle, his groomer, Marimbe. And so he starts to feel like his father is using him as a tool and like a treaty, and he leaves Zamunda. Okay, he takes Marimba with him back to Queens, and he wants to marry her on his own terms, and they're going to live their life in America. Akeem finds out and goes to Queens to convince Lavelle to come back and take over the kingdom and marry the Nextdoria princess as he had agreed to do. Now, of course, along the way, Akeem realizes that he is in many ways doing the same thing that his father had done to him. And not only is he doing it to Lavelle, he's also disregarding his eldest daughter that had been in Zamunda the whole time and is rightfully the person that should be taking over the kingdom. In the end, Akeem does name his daughter as his successor, and Lavelle and his bride do return to Zamunda to get married and become a prince and princess of Zamunda. The end.
Now, I don't know how you summarize that 85-hour movie in them 5 minutes, but you did it.
That's because she's Jania.
Y'all, it's hard. It's hard to summarize because it's just like the first movie to me, in that there were so many moments to me that were special. And I want to start this part of the discussion off. I have a question for you, bro and sis. I've got a question in the pocket, and pulled it out. Hello, question. The question is, what makes a good sequel? What do y'all look for in a sequel? You know, because sometimes it's like, sequels are not great. Sometimes they're not great because they're a sequel and didn't nobody need a sequel. Sometimes they're not great because they're just not great. What makes a good sequel in general?
For me, a sequel effectively and entertainingly expands the universe of the movie in a way that makes sense to the original story. Like my favorite first and second movie is Terminator 1.
We should do those. I don't think I've seen those.
Terminator 2 I think is the best sequel, maybe the best sequel I've ever seen. And it's because it went along with the mythology of the first one and it built on it. And all the actors who came back took it so seriously, and they took everything up to a notch. And so for me, in a word, is a sequel is great when it's telling a great story that needs to be told, and it just doesn't feel like a cash grab because the first one was successful. So that's, for me, that's what makes a good sequel.
What about you, Sid?
I agree with Aubrey. I will say that for me, a sequel that is good, in my opinion, has the ability to complement the first movie, but still stand on its own feet. So I have the nostalgia, quote unquote, of the first movie, but I still am watching a separate movie. I'm not watching a copy and paste of trying to recreate what just happened in that first movie. I am watching something, and I'm seamlessly bringing in new characters.
Yes.
I am creating a new story that is just building off of this original story. So but yes, that mind where it can stand on its own 2 feet. Yeah. You know, this movie.
Hashtag inside joke.
Yeah. Unless if you're a regular listener, you get that joke.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Mara said that, which you guys, our chat is popping here. Shout out to Kelly is in here. Toya, Sean, Mara, T.
Hey, everybody.
This whole time.
How y'all doing?
Mara said that Mara said someone said Sister Act 2 was a great sequel and better than the first.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. I agree. I think they were both really good.
Yeah,
I agree with
Second
that.
one.
T said,
all right.
T said sequels further the story. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with
that.
All
right, so here we go.
Yeah.
So here we go. Mm-hmm. Let's get into it. So what did y'all think?
Well, let me just say.
I'm sorry, my camera froze.
All right, I'll start off.
Okay.
I can summarize how I felt about this movie in one sentence.
Oh, Lord.
This was a really bad movie that I enjoyed every minute of. But I enjoyed every minute.
I like how you just said that.
But what I'm saying is,
Brittany, do you agree with that?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that's how
I fell asleep and had to rewind the parts I missed.
What is going on?
Let me say this. So I'll start off by saying if there was a scale of 1 to 10 of expectation, 10 being, oh my God, this is going to be mind blowing, and 1 being like, I don't know what's happening here. Like I was at a 0. Like I had no expectation for this movie to be great. I was excited about it because of the nostalgia, coming to America. I love coming to America. T said that she agrees with you, bro. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, but I'm not going to lie to you. And I'm probably going to like ruin my career before it even gets started. But as soon as I saw that Leslie Jones was one of the leading people, I said, oh, we're in for it, because she hits or miss all the time. And it's never in between. And so I was so concerned. I said, but then I saw some of the other people and I was like, okay, we got some people in here that are really good, that are, but my expectations for this movie were very low. So with them being so low, the movie ended up being better than I expected. But it's still, had I had my expectations at a 10, I would have been disappointed. I so disappointed.
I feel the same way in the sense that
look at you
first of all, there is no duplicating Coming to America.
Like, at all.
Which I don't think they tried to do. I don't think they tried to do that.
Yeah, that wasn't, so like me going in there expecting, I was just like Brittany. I wasn't even expecting, that. All I wanted was for them not to mess it up. And I feel like they definitely didn't mess up Coming to America as an experience for me. So that's all I wanted. That was my level of expectation, that, because like some sequels are so bad, you don't even want to watch the original movie anymore.
Listen.
Like everybody knows my sore spot is Game of Thrones. And I love the first 4 seasons so great, and 5, 6, and 7 were pretty good, but 8 was so bad that it makes me not even want to watch.
Can I just say something right now that needs to be said, which is that both of you are objectively wrong. Okay, because y'all are shocking my mind to Channel 9. I enjoyed this movie.
I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed it too.
You called it a bad movie.
It is a bad movie.
I don't
feel He said a bad movie that he enjoyed.
No. But bro,
not exactly what I said.
But I know, but this was not a bad movie. Bad in what way? It was well done.
Let me, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking negatively about this movie because I enjoyed it. But what I'm saying is to answer what you're
bad movie.
To answer your question.
Yeah. Why don't you clarify your statement just to discuss?
First of all, it was the pacing. There were times things felt rushed. There were times things felt too long. Second, it was the level of comedy. And when I'm saying that, when we look at how somebody carried, how all of the actors in non-major roles on the level of a Leslie Jones role, they were able to sit in that great space of like flowing with the story, not feeling like every time they did something, it was like they're just, doing so much and being so extra. And look, I'm not, this is my feeling, in my opinion. I'm saying I prefer more subtle comedy, like that it grabs you because of how well it's written, not just because you just are doing something,
mopping
you're just doing whatever just to
thank you for saying that, sis, because everything we were just celebrating in the last movie was that it had a diversity in the way that it made you laugh. There were parts of it that were surface corny, like Hakeem using the mop bucket to try to mop the floor, and him walking down the street singing "To Be Loved." Like that same movie had the kind of subtle comedy that we've been talking about and celebrating.
Oh, and just like I want to address that point before you move on. What I'm saying is that even in the over the top scenes, which Coming to America definitely does.
Absolutely.
Has over the top. But when it's done well, it doesn't feel over the top to me. So
Bro,
like,
what is an over the top scene from the sequel that you're talking about that wasn't done well? Well, you need an example.
Well, for me, when the character that Leslie Jones was playing.
Can I interject something real quick?
Sure.
That Toya just said. Toya said her coming to America PG-13 rating may affect the level of comedy and quality of the movie more than the Coming to America.
That was the next thing I was about to say.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
That was the very next thing. That was the very next thing I was going to say is that. But before I get off, what Janiyah just asked me, what I'm saying is that like I could see somebody being just as ratchet as they were showing Leslie Jones' character to be without being as over the top as it was.
Oh my gosh, y'all! And let me just say, I have a love-hate relationship with some of with Leslie Jones and her stuff. I do. Mm-hmm. I actually, at the end of this movie, I was like, wow, I appreciated what she did for that part. And I didn't think she was overdoing it. We have seen, and not just Leslie Jones, we have seen the portrayal of the ratchet Black woman in such extremes in a way that it's like, let's just slow down here. I didn't think she was that over the top. I thought she was ratchet in a plausible, relatable way. I really did. And I even think like the way her mannerism, the way that she was engaging in like a very informal way in formal moments, even that, I thought they did just the right amount of making her realistic and not so far over the top that she was a caricature. And I'll also say this. I think like for me,
she definitely didn't to me seem like a caricature. She seemed just like somebody you'd work with, like just someone you know. Yeah,
someone I wouldn't say.
I thought she did well at that role.
Me too, and I thought it was well
but
written. But
again,
too.
My expectations were low, so I was like,
what?
It could have blown my mind altogether. But the parts of this movie that were a little frustrating for me. And I do want to say that while I did fall asleep, it was late when I was watching it, but also it didn't grab my attention as much as I wanted it to. The parts that so many tropes referencing the first movie. It was so much bad. Of it that it couldn't stand on its own. And I was
they were putting whole clips and like
But they did that for the sake of what Brittany was talking about, so the movie could stand on its own. I thought they chose exactly the right moments. They could have done a whole lot of flashbacks. They didn't. They picked exactly the right moments to pull flashbacks from the movie and to go back and create a historical moment that exactly where it was needed. Y'all, I don't think, in my opinion, they did not over-index on flashbacks. I also thought they did a great job of honoring what was some of the most important jokes and from the first. And I struggle with some of those harkbacks being called tropes. They aren't tropes. You know, a caricaturized version of what Leslie Jones was playing, that character could have been full of tropes, and they didn't take that route. I felt like they did a good job.
Maybe not the word trope. Maybe trope is not the right word for them going back so much. But T keeps writing. It was the same story. She was like, it was too rushed. And Alexis said there were so many references back to the first movie.
But you all, that is what the story was. The story was about how things repeat themselves. So first of all, let me just say, there are a lot of ways that they could have come to a sequel that would have felt silly. Okay, they came up with a premise that was actually believable. Someone getting high, having sex, and not remembering. That's real life.
I agree with that.
Okay,
I agree with that.
Now,
I agree with that.
Now, I mean,
that was good. It was a good premise for the movie, definitely.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we have to give them some credit for that, because
I'm not taking away.
You were talking earlier about what makes a good sequel is that it expands the universe. I thought they did a wonderful job of coming up with a premise that made sense with everything that we knew to be true. And also, if they had been playing out the same story and not addressing it, it would have been problematic. But they were playing out the same story and addressing it. There was even a line where Marimbe, the character that ends up Lavelle falls in love with, she says, listen, every prince, says he's about to change things, and then when he becomes king, he ends up just honoring tradition. And so they were naming the fact that we were watching a king play out the same cycle with his son and daughter that he had played out with his father. So if they hadn't named it and it was the same storyline, it would have been problematic to me. But was the story. The story was a king almost perpetuating the things that he was trying not to perpetuate. So, but and the other thing is,
if they would have just never put the old movie clips into that part.
But sis, how could that movie? How could the movie stand alone? You did need it.
But see, but that's my. But what you just said is what I meant when I said earlier. A good sequel can stand on its own 2 feet.
And sis, if you didn't see the original,
you have to. But that's the thing. It should have incited people to want to see the first movie. So because normally a sequel is a continuation to the first movie. If I have to put literal parts of the first movie into this movie, that's a problem for me.
But sis,
like how many sequels do you know to do that?
But sis, how many movies, television shows, and the answer is almost all of them in the world, in the universe, and history have a flashback to history. This just so happens that the flashback footage
87 times.
Sis, the point is, I don't think you can fault a movie for leveraging flashback footage or the flashback mechanism just because we have seen the footage before. They happen to have footage they could have used, but they used it, I thought, thoughtfully. Even if the flashback footage hadn't existed already and we hadn't seen it, they only used it in the places where we needed to kind of go back and understand the experience visually. I thought they thoughtfully placed it, y'all. And I got to tell you, if they had done this movie and not made a reference to Randy Watson, not made a reference to,
I'm not talking about references. I'm talking about actually using.
But Brittany was talking about references. I'm responding to that. And what I'm saying is that if they had not made references to the original movie, people would have been criticizing that. There's no winning path here. I thought they had the right balance
between a reference and And so, for example, when he went back, they went to the it was still there in Queens as it's gentrified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a huge thing that they said. The gentrification of Queens is very different. People were riding around on the motorized things, right? And the barbershop, though, was still there.
Still there.
I think that was great. And they could have left it there. They brought those 3 men to Zamunda when they were like, let's bring Queens. I was like, y'all, okay, now we're done with them. Like, we've already had them in this movie. We don't need these people anymore.
You're saying he couldn't invite them to the wedding?
I'm not saying that he couldn't invite them to the wedding, but I'm just saying, what was their purpose?
No, I get there.
Like, I get what you're saying. But that's what I mean by, and I understand it. Like, okay, have references. We want that. But it's like, yo, so many. Like, let it be its own movie. Like, a little bit.
Gosh, I had such a different experience.
It made it feel like a less of a movie and kind of like a clip show for a TV show. That was the feeling that I got when they would go to so many clips. The same way, like you see those shows that they put on in the middle of the season when they're trying to take up time and like, you know, they're trying to kill time. That's how it felt to me. And the other things I want to get this part of the discussion out of the way is just, I didn't feel like it was as well acted. And, excuse me. Let me correct myself before you jump all over
Who
that.
in particular are you talking about?
I didn't like the acting of the main guy. You know, I don't know.
Oh, I thought he did a good job.
I thought he did a great job. Do you know where I know him from, y'all? There was a show, I think it may have only had 1 season. It was called Superior Donuts. And y'all, he was in, let me see, what is his name? Jermaine Fowler. He played Lavelle. And y'all, I thought he did such a great job because that character was complicated. That character had to be in a state of processing the reappearance, or not even reappearance, the appearance of a father that he never knew. Okay. And simultaneously, like grappling with like trying to, you know, immerse himself into this new culture. It was just a ton of pressure and a ton of complexity. And I thought he held that complexity very well. I thought he did a great job, I gotta say.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but where did he show up poorly?
So for me, whenever he transitioned to the serious stuff, like when he was, you know, talking to her.
Whoa. I'm so shocked, y'all, right now.
It didn't ring true to me.
What?
The other thing is that I didn't feel their chemistry. I didn't feel
him and Marimbe.
Janiyah T said that you're Aunt Veronica in this conversation.
She definitely is.
She definitely is.
I am slowly morphing into her every day. I see it, y'all. Yeah. It's happening. It's happening. It gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
And so I want to point out.
I just want to say, so I cannot, because I want to get to talk about the good. And so for me, it was definitely the pacing. It was definitely the overuse of the clips to the previous movie, which took it away from.
It was like 3 clips. It wasn't even like a lot of clips. It was
clips to me and references.
Okay,
that's
it was
the word I wanted to say.
I think
there were so many references.
I think it's only one clip. I think
it's more than one.
It was the club.
It was at least it was at least there were.
I think it might have just been the club.
3 different places. No, there was at least 3 different places. Yeah, there was at least 3 different places where they did clips. Because the first time I saw the clip, I was like, cool.
Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah, that's cool. Cool, whatever. I'm not big into clips of the previous movie, but I'll let it. But the second time,
clip, I was like, but it was actually a flashback. It was a memory.
Whatever you want to call it. The footage from the previous movie. The first time I was like,
it was footage from the previous movie, but if the previous movie hadn't existed, they were just using a flashback mechanism.
And then by the time
I will say this, a good way that they did it, to me, a good flashback mechanism was at the end of the movie, the eldest daughter and the son, they both went, nah.
Okay, so that was a callback. That's a callback.
That was a callback. And that to me was well done. They ended the movie the same way. Okay, cool. I don't like the nah in either one, but that's fine. They did it. I appreciate it. The parts that were like, this is doing too much. Okay. While the funeral scene was good, I thought it was hilarious that he wanted to be at his own funeral. So they did the funeral, but then it just seemed like it was kept going. And so I was like, all right, this is too much. It will not. Why doesn't it stop? Or even, okay, so they have Nextdoria. Then it almost seemed like this feels like this country of, they go there and they have dance revolution machines and the people come in and they're like stepping like they're in fraternity. I was like, what is this? And I was excited because when I saw Michael Blackson come in, I said, he is hilarious. This is going to be it. The people that did the best to me in the movie were the oldest daughter. She was gorgeous and she was so talented. I know she's probably been in other stuff. I have to find her. Whatever she's in, I'm going to watch it because she's amazing to me. And also, I think who did a great job was Wesley Snipes.
Oh, he did such a great
job. He was, because it was funny to me. I was like, is this like an African Nino happening right now? But maybe not. Like, I was just kind of cracking up in my head at him, like, because I thought about when we were talking about before how he is a method actor, like, and so everyone had to call him that on set. And so it made me think about, what was he like on this set? Like, did he have to stay in that person, be in that character? So it made me wonder about those things, but I just couldn't understand.
It also seemed like a callback to when he was in the Bad video with Michael Jackson. You know how he was the bad guy in that music video? Did y'all ever see that?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay, well anyway.
I saw it, but that
everybody has a homework assignment. Go watch the Bad music video.
I mean, I know what you're talking. I've seen
Wesley Snipes is the head bad guy.
That's not.
Mara says that. She said, Mara says, yes, exactly. Intro.
Well, let me just say, y'all. You know,
Mara said it was 20 to 30 minutes of clips.
It was. You know what?
It was. After the second time they did it, I was like, and the thing is, it felt like they were trying to stretch the runtime, and the movie was already long. And Brittany brought up another great point, that the numbers and the big scenes in this one, it was like they missed that moment when it was perfect, like in right here. It was like they kept going past, like when we were talking about how the build up and coming to it, and I'm not comparing them into, I'm talking about a scene in the movie that, you know, in Coming to America, when they built up that dancing, built it, perfect, and singing the funny song. Like, that was the perfect pacing. You never felt like, all right, I mean, this is cool, but this dance number is going to, like, for example,
okay, well,
when they had him sing again, I was already a little disappointed that he was lip singing, but the song was cool. But he did like one verse, and it should have ended. And then it was like a perfect moment where it could have ended. And then it kept going on.
When he took that mic and he started rapping, I said, somebody help me.
Yeah, that killed this movie. I was like,
turn this movie off. Oh, he's rapping.
What is going on?
I was like,
oh my God.
I was so frustrated. But let me tell you something.
Can I just say,
shout out though, Eddie Murphy made sure to bring in the younger generation. And Eddie Murphy knows how to make sure that something is blackity black, blackity black. Okay. And I appreciate Eddie Murphy for doing that every
matter of fact
time. He will employ us, honey. We will
Brittany, matter of fact, Brittany, yes. Brittany is is knocking down my first domino on my emotion and how I felt. But I don't want to interrupt you, Janai. After you, I'm gonna talk about how I felt.
So again, I just had such a different experience in this movie. I didn't struggle with the pacing at all. I thought like they were covered because the first movie, if you think about it, his trip to America, I think it was 40 days something. So that whole first movie was 2 months or something, you know? And I felt like this one was about the same. It was just a month or, you know, a couple of weeks. And so I didn't struggle with the pacing because it was truly just, it was like we were just watching a couple of weeks go by, you know, in this experience. And I also felt like, you know, it's so funny because the pacing, the callbacks, the flashbacks, I didn't struggle with any of those things. And when I think about what I did struggle with, because I actually enjoyed all of those things, I thought they added value. I thought that they picked exactly the right moments to go back and pull old footage. But I will say the places where I felt like they had done a bad job of expanding into the future was McDowell's being in Zamunda. I didn't think we needed McDowell's in Zamunda. I thought that we needed to honor the McDowell's franchise some way in the movie, but I thought it would have been a truer way to honor it if perhaps back in America, McDowell's had become a major chain and that the chain was perhaps somehow Afrocentric or something. But having it be a fast food restaurant in Zamunda, that was the piece I struggled with. Another one I struggled with,
maybe it was in the middle of some grass.
Yeah. I appreciated that
there ain't no city in Zamunda.
I appreciated they used it as an opportunity to reference current conversation about carbon footprint and things like that. So it was a way to kind of make it a right now conversation about, you know, fast foods. I appreciated that. The other thing that I wish that they would have done differently was to do a little bit better of a job of honoring the missing presence of the mother. You know, we just know that the actual actress had passed away. Otherwise, she would have been in the movie. We can pretty much bet that. But we got one little reference to her, and it was an important moment, but it was only one reference where John Amos, the father, he is trying to help Akeem to get to some clarity. The McDowell father is trying to help Akeem get to some clarity about what to do. He's in this set of conundrum. And he says, what would your mother do? He says, your mother was super wise. There could have been some other moments, I think, where the mother's legacy was better honored. And there's another piece, you know, I was watching this movie with my boyfriend, James, and he mentioned like, you know, why didn't we have a moment where all of the daughters and the mother got together? There was no scene, as much as the movie was naming the fact that women were problematically situated in Zamunda, meaning they couldn't own businesses, couldn't be the heir. They also didn't have a moment where the women came together and talked about that. We saw Sherry the Queen advocating for her daughter, saying, hello, clearly you're missing it. You have an heir that can take over and is ready to take over. But we didn't have a moment where perhaps the mother was consoling the daughters or just having that conversation. Now, again, you didn't see a rift in the relationships. They put forward a very happy and functional family dynamic. You know, we got to see Akeem sparring with his daughters. I loved it. I loved his relationship with his family.
That part was good.
It was so good. But we missed the opportunity to honor the women characters. And that felt like a gap to me.
Before we go,
because I'm gonna tell you all where the references, what would have been a bad version of references to me. Okay. A bad version of references would have been if they had created some other kind of barbershop or something equivalent to a barbershop in Zamunda and had 3 characters sitting around kvetching. That would have been a bad reference. But him actually going back to the barbershop, acknowledging
that was another thing. They were acting like you could fly back and forth to Africa in like 2 hours.
It wasn't 2 hours, bro. Why would
it was?
It was not.
It was because because they were like, it takes a day, not even count all the stuff you got to do to make
but
that.
But bro, we all know that, so we know that a day was lapsing.
Well, I mean,
they didn't make it incoherent in terms of the travel.
Well, for me, it seemed that way because it was like one moment they're in Zamunda deciding to leave, and the next day they're all the way back in Queens.
They didn't say 1 day later. Why did it have to be the next day just because it was the next scene?
Because
that to me is an interpretation that you made.
Because I was. Can I say this? I was stretching to get there, and then Akeem was like, I gotta go stop it, as if he could just run and go stop it real quick. And that's not even how they presented it. Like, he got off the plane and ran to the thing. I'm just saying this.
It was time lapsing. It wasn't like he said, "Oh, I gotta go stop it," and he said that after they were already walking toward the church. That's not what happened.
But that's how he was
already
that's the type
in
of
Rome.
Urgency.
Boy, I didn't struggle with that.
T said, I would like to have seen her advocate in front of her daughter. And then T also said that she was like, the jet was back already for Eddie to take. Nah.
Yes, but y'all, because you're wanting it to all be happening on the same day. If you want it to all happen on the same day,
listen,
then I don't want, that's not a plausible use of jet.
Look, I'm saying I'm watching the movie. It's their job to make me feel and I just didn't feel that. So I'm just saying it felt that all felt very, very quick. And the last thing I want to say is that, to me, Coming to America is a rated R movie. And I was like, the reason why I like rated R is because it's like, yo, whatever's funny, we doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, there's no reins placed on the comedy. And this comedy felt careful to me. And that's the last thing I'm going to say as far as. Was
there a place where you thought we needed a boob and we didn't have it? What do you even mean?
No, I mean, the comedy itself just felt clean to me. Like, I don't want to, cause like there was, but just like, you know how when they first in Coming to America, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about, of how when they got to the apartment building first, and how, and they got to the apartment building, and the landlord dude was, you know what I mean? Like, he was a foul-mouthed guy, but like, that was funny though, because that's how it would be. And I'm just saying, like,
Frankie Faison was the landlord.
That's what I'm saying. And so, that's the last for me. Because I'm gonna tell you what this movie did do. This movie, because I didn't go in with any expectations, I just didn't want it to mess it up. And what this movie did for me was played my nostalgia like a fiddle. And I was completely okay with that. I was okay with all the, outside of the video clips, I was cool with every flashback. Even the ones I didn't like, I still enjoyed. Like when they talked about Peaches, when Peaches it came out, but and they started doing their rap, it was like, it was painful to watch in a way, but in another way, I wanted to see that. I wouldn't want to take it away. So all of that, I liked Michael Blackson's intro. I thought that was funny, but I'm gonna tell you, like, walking out of a funny movie, which we haven't had really funny movies for a very long time. Like, I think the early, like, 2010s is the last time we had, like, for real funny movies, in my opinion. But like, when you're walking out of a funny movie, you start talking about, oh, remember when, like, you remember when this happened?
You have sayings already.
You already got it from there. And I'm just saying, I didn't have any of that. Like, I don't have that. Nothing new that they did. There might be some references that were funny to me in retrospect. And then some of the references I loved just because they did them, but like when Simi said, for example, when Simi, which that was another thing I didn't like. Simi was pampered, but he was a warrior. You know what I mean? And like Simi, in the first one,
I wish he could have been moved on to have a fuller life. We didn't get a chance to see Simi having a lover, like a wife or children or a family. He was still a servant in this one. I wanted to see his life having expanded beyond servant.
None of that bothered me. What bothered, because, you know, that's how it is in those environments. A lot of times people have a servant forever. You know what I mean? Especially if they have a good relationship, it's like family. Sometimes but what did bother me was when he was like, protect my family, right? And he was like, I'm not a warrior. But see, in the first one, he's an accomplished fighter. You know what I mean? And like, he doesn't normally do that. But Simi, when Akeem fought the dude, Simi didn't hesitate. As a matter of fact, when it was about to go down, they put it on his eyes, like it's about to go down.
But like but he isn't a warrior. They have actual warriors that are, you know, stationed all around the castle. I appreciated what he was saying, in the same way that the daughters were not warriors, but they knew how to fight. So I heard what he was saying. Why would you tell me to be in charge? We got all these generals around here or something. That's what I heard him say.
I know. I mean, your explanation makes sense. I'm just saying, for me, when they set up that dynamic with them, like they were sparring together, and in the beginning, Akeem, Simi was hanging with him. Absolutely. In terms of when they were both fighting, and then when the stuff was about to go down, it's like Simi is like, he's a prima donna. He complains all the time. But when they were in that McDowell's and it was about to go down, Simi went into mode.
Yeah, he did.
No. Okay, well, it's time to go down. It's time to go down. And I just didn't get him. Like, I'm not no. I'm saying protect my family. You know what that means. If you got to get a general, you do whatever. I want him to. He should have said something like, nothing will happen to your family before it happens to me. Period. You know, say something like that.
Yeah.
When he did and they had him fight, which was good. But when he hit him, he did the whole, disease from disease run, whatever the term he used. I forgot
disease,
it.
Baboon, something.
Yeah.
But it was the same term he used in the first one.
Another callback that was well done and enjoyable.
And that was a callback I didn't enjoy. That was one of the ones I didn't enjoy because it was. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because when Simi said that in the first movie, it was funny. But nobody's saying that when they're referencing Coming to America. Nobody talks about that. It wasn't one of those moments. But what could have made it a funny moment to me is if he would have came up with another insult about an animal in the same way. And you're like, oh, that's just every time he beats somebody down, he's
talking about some type of situation.
Right,
one part that I did, because and I want to be clear. It's not that I didn't hate the movie, right? I didn't hate it. It wasn't right. I enjoyed it, but I did not. It's not something where I'm like, oh my God, I gotta watch that again. It's not.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. Oh my God, I need to watch it.
Do you say that?
Every time I want to watch something again, I go, oh my God, no, I don't want to watch this again. And y'all know I love corny movies, right? Y'all know I will watch the same movie over and over again. The parts that I did like that moved the story along and that were unique were watching Lisa let her hair down with Leslie's character and they were getting drunk at the party. I was cracking up when they were like, because you forget that she is from Queens. And although we always saw her as the older sister, very sophisticated, she's still from the hood. Like, she's from New York. Like, she still has that in her. So I appreciated them bringing that part out. Oh gosh.
Well, you know what? One thing we do got to do is just call out a couple of these names that we didn't name in terms of just this cast. just fantastic. So from the first movie, we named all the main folks. I think we forgot to name that Calvin Lockhart. He was Colonel Izzy, Imani's father. And also, you know, the sister, her name was Allison Dean. She's the one that played Patrice McDowell. But I think we got the rest of the people pretty much. For the sequel, other names we didn't mention, Tracy Morgan was in there. Kiki Lane.
He was about to be who I was about to mention next. Tracy Morgan's character was perfect because he is somebody's uncle. He is somebody's uncle.
I loved the I loved the parts I loved Michael Blackson's intro. I love everything about Wesley Snipes. I love
Tiana Taylor, I thought did a good job.
Tiana
did a good job. Bella Murphy played Princess Oma Jaffer. You know, we had one of of course Louie Anderson was back. Vanessa Bell Calloway was back. Yes. Okay. It was so good to see John Amos again. Some of these people, they just feel like they're your family. Colin Jost
that was another reference back that I thought was funny. Like
Marcel
you know how someone
Bouvier
will say
was still a rose bearer.
You know how they'll say like, oh, and legend has it, this person does this. They're still doing that. I felt as though when they brought her back in, her ponytail was falling off. She was still doing that. You know, you haven't released my.
But I'm gonna tell you that.
I thought that was kind of silly.
I didn't like that. I actually didn't like that part.
I was like, all right,
that was unnecessary.
And I know this is a small thing, but like the last thing you told her to do was make it sound like an orangutan. So
I noticed that too. She was supposed to be
like,
going,
yeah. So if anything, she would have still been doing that. She wouldn't have been doing it. So that was the first thing I thought of. And beyond that, that's more of a tragic than funny.
Totally.
That is tragic. It is tragic, but it's also like
not realistic.
It just was like it's not realistic. And it's almost like that thing where it was like, legend has it. She's still hopping around like an orangutan.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, it made me think of that type of saying. But realistically, I was like, she's not doing that. And then also to see Tiana Taylor's character stand there, and she was standing there for an hour waiting for him. I just kind of feel like they would not have reiterated something like that again, because we see what has already happened with that. Yeah. Like I was like, okay, then why is she doing this right now? So
And then it defeated the point, because like even if y'all were going to do that, they should have had a joke where like everybody had left and she was still standing there or something. But like she didn't even stand there that long. You know what I mean? So it was like, it wasn't, even though you did the callback, you didn't even really do it, because she stood there for a little while. I was like, oh, well, forget that. I mean, so what? I
agree. I agree. They gave her the important line of, I'm just a wife. And that was all she had ever been groomed to be. So I thought that line was important. But yeah, I thought that callback, they didn't really play that out. Did y'all notice that one of the lieutenants for Wesley Snipes was Rick Ross? Did y'all catch that? Okay.
Rick Ross. Now, I didn't do my research, but when I Googled for a picture of Zamunda, and this is what I found, they're saying this is on that article. I didn't research this, but they say this is Rick Ross's real house.
What?
So this is the house that they used for Zamunda in this. I haven't researched that, but that's what the article said.
That's ridiculous.
I hope that's true. I hope that's
true.
That
is
so crazy. Well, Rick Ross, with his one line, he did a terrible job. And I also...
Man,
I did appreciate all of the musical people. Rotimi, Tiana Taylor, Rick Ross.
Had Davido in there as himself, and Vogue as themselves, Salt and Pepper as themselves, Gladys Knight as herself. They even had Dikembe Mutombo in there as himself. They had those great cameos.
This is the other part.
Lunel was in there. I was happy to see her in there.
I with it being now that we're more sensitive, right, to people being from the places that they're portraying, I wish we would have had more African people in this movie, just a couple more. And so but
I feel like one of the jokes of the movie is that they aren't doing great accents. I feel like, because like if you think about in both of the movies, they're actually doing is like not using contractions. Other than that, like they're just slightly over pronouncing words. No one is really trying to do an accent. A couple of them are. In this one, we like Wesley Snipes. He did it. He was very good. But for the most part, I think one of the jokes of the movie is that they're not doing a great job with the accents. I mean, that's back from the first one.
I guess I can see that. Like I said, I truly enjoyed.
I'm trying to think of your statement, bro. I'm trying to think of the bad movie that I enjoyed.
Thank you, Deshaun Trevor Noah. I hope that Trevor Noah was in here. And when he came up on that CNN
Zamunda,
that was ZNN screen,
Zamunda News Network.
Yes, I was so happy that Trevor Noah was in there. I
really enjoyed this movie. I really loved how I was, like I said, I had no expectations, but I was worried about them messing up. And I was worried about like when they would do the barbershop scene that it wasn't going to be funny, but it was. You
still had that plate.
Yeah, and you still had the plate. And like I said, it really called back the positive feelings I was feeling. But anything that I would think was great would be a callback. I didn't mind the callbacks outside of the video clips, but outside
do you have another example of a movie that you would say is a bad movie that you enjoyed? Because to me, if the goal is to enjoy the movie, they've accomplished their goal to make an enjoyable experience.
If Coming to America,
no. You can enjoy.
If Coming to America had came out just as a movie, we would be sitting here having a different conversation.
What would that conversation be, sis?
That it was not good. If it just came out as a movie on its own, we would not be like, yes, no. If there was no nostalgia attached to this movie.
But there was a nostalgia attached to it.
That's what I'm saying. But
pretending
if there
a sequel is not a sequel doesn't serve the sequel.
I'm not pretending that it's not a sequel. But what I am saying is that there has to be something about a movie that is helping it to stand and be good. So Sister Act 2 is a great example of a sequel that can stand on its own. Like, I could watch Sister Act 2 all the time and never watch Sister Act 1 ever again. But it's okay, because why? It stand on its own, but she's still a nun, a fake nun. Like, but this movie, if you watched it just as a movie that came out that Eddie Murphy just did, you'd be like, Eddie, now hold on. Shout out to employing all of us. But wait a minute. Like,
damn.
You know, I have some example of bad movies that I love.
Okay, please.
Why does he have a list?
Well, no.
I need to hear a list.
I googled fun bad movies, and I'm going to talk about I'm going to mention the ones that I like. Okay, so the Fast and Furious sequels are horrible, and I love all of them. They are just ridiculous, and they continue to get more and more ridiculous. But that's part of the fun of it. Is like in the last, in Hobbs and Shaw.
Aren't they at like?
I'm gonna give you an example.
8, like 13 or something.
In Hobbs and Shaw, which is in that universe, there is a scene where The Rock, there is a helicopter attached to a chain, attached to a truck, and the truck has a string of cars because they're trying to hold down this helicopter, and the chain broke. But guess what, baby? The Rock grabbed it.
and held the helicopter.
He held the helicopter, and you're like, "This is
He's very strong."
Janai, I'm sending a clip of what you just said.
His fineness makes him stronger.
It's so ridiculous. What about boys? Because after I saw it, I called him when he was talking. And we both love these movies in the same way. And he said the verbatim thing you said. He was like, "Listen, The Rock is very strong." You know? And that's all right, hold on. I just want to mention a couple more.
#facts.
I just Armageddon. That's another bad movie that is very enjoyable to watch.
Mara said Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Okay. But see, they're doing it on purpose in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No, well, that's the only one they're doing on purpose.
Yeah, I don't know about the Fast and the Furious one, but on Rocky Horror Picture Show, they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Deshaun said that the movie there are some British black people in it. Because
that's what we're used to. They could have played all the Americans. They could have played all the Americans.
I'm just saying.
Well, you know what?
And Deshaun, what are you talking about?
Bro. I get the fashion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What is that?
Like, because
what does that mean?
Because the emotion I was feeling is enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? Like the emotion I'm feeling.
Well, with that kind of complex statement that you made, I am very interested to see what your vote is. You know, and I think, are we ready to vote, y'all?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
We have been talking for 80 seconds.
Did I mention the name?
Shout out to everybody rocking with us.
Kiki Lane. I don't know who that is. She played Princess Mika Jaffer. That's the one you like, sis, the oldest sister.
Her name is Kiki Lane. She's my favorite person in the planet right now.
Can I just say one thing? Can I agree with one thing with Brittany that I wanted to agree with, but I didn't want to interrupt when she was talking that I forgot about? Brittany, I watch all the movie whenever we're reviewing, but the closest I've ever come to fast forward is when he started rapping. It was very, very close. I couldn't have took another verse, but I know the song is one of my favorite songs, so I knew the verse was.
And his mom handed him the mic and says, "You know this song, baby. Show him." Y'all. Okay, y'all.
Because I didn't know the song. I was like, "What song is this?"
And I feel I should disclose. Did I have some vodka right before the movie started? Possibly. I just want to name that. I don't know if that.
Because let me tell you something. The way you were talking about this movie, honey, I'm like, Genia, they had a long dance scene, and you hate when they have dance scenes that don't move.
Maybe I gotta go back. Maybe I gotta go back and watch it sober.
With a sober man when you were drinking bottled water.
Look, and I'm
bottled water.
I might have been sipping, but I really enjoyed this movie.
Look, this is what I'm saying.
I am gonna watch.
I enjoyed this movie. Do I think?
I'm gonna say does it get your globe?
No, it doesn't get my globe. It does not get my globe. But,
that was so fast.
I enjoyed the movie, but it doesn't get my globe.
Because
that's not what we're deciding.
Thank you.
That's not what we're deciding. We're not talking about whether or not we enjoy it.
You're right.
We're talking about whether it's a classic. What I'm saying is, I don't see people watching this movie 5 years from now. I don't see that. Like, I don't see. It's one of those things where it was a spectacle, and it was like I really, really enjoyed it. But I'm gonna tell you, after 30 years of watching TV, I still watch Coming to America 1 easier than Coming to America 2. After watching it over and over again for 30 years, it's because it's so good. Now, the comedy is so good. Even if you don't laugh out loud, you still just sit back and appreciate, like, that was genius. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing. Now, what I'm saying is am I going to be saying that about Coming to America? I'm not going to not watch the movie. So if I feel like watching it, or if it comes on, just like T was talking about, sometimes these movies come on TV, you just end up watching them. And sometimes you're like, man, it's a little funny. I don't know if I'll feel that later. Like, again, but I'm just saying, like, all the parts I want to reference are outside of the Michael Blackson intro and Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes did such a good job.
I can see him. I'm just saying.
I thought.
Let me just say this.
Also,
I don't think it doesn't get my Globe because I don't think it's an instant classic. But I don't know. Maybe it's one of those movies that people just will end up like watching it just for the, nostalgia or the feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. I'm not saying it won't be. I'm not saying it won't be, but I don't see it. I don't see people like the first time you watched Coming to America, you wanted to go watch it again right then. It was one of those movies. If you rented it, you would rewind and watch it over. But
gosh, sis, I would like to go last on this because I need another second to think. Sis, does this get your Globe? Honestly, y'all, I'm struggling here.
Based off of how we do our show, which is something a classic, and you all know that I have had to make movies that I love and enjoy and say that they are not a classic because I don't feel like they will stand the test of time. I don't feel like it's going to be something that people are like, oh my God, yes. They're not going to do that. This is one of those movies. And so it does not get my Globe. And for reasons that I've already named, but there were even certain things just on a fashion standpoint, right? I was so ready for.
By the way, you killing that headband.
You look real cute.
On that topic.
Real cute.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to distract you, but I meant to say something.
We're distracted by the beauty, though. We distracted by the beauty, though.
I be trying to tell people.
You
They're
were
always
okay.
listening. Thank you.
Right.
But I was. Majority of the fashion was beautiful.
Oh,
but I will say
the costumes.
I will say that for them to be in Africa, some of those outfits from Zamunda look like they were made in the United States. Like they with the fake African polyester, like that print on a polyester, that bothered me because I'm like, you're in Africa. Girl, you need to have on some real African cloth. So it's seeing those different prints on those things that bothered me. And also the part when at the end, when they got married and she could barely walk in with that dress. I know they were trying to maybe, just a reference back to how big her pink dress was in the first movie, but she could actually walk. In that movie, in the second one, her dress was too heavy. She couldn't walk. And so that frustrated me because I was just like, y'all are acting like y'all made this yesterday and had to put it out today. Y'all could have done something to her costume to make sure that her dress was not that heavy. So there were certain things that were also pointing out to me that were more technical aspects that I was just like, all right, y'all, some of y'all been in this game too long for this to still be a thing. So with all that being said, it did not. I enjoyed it, but it did not get. It would not get my.
And I want to be clear about that.
Yes,
I enjoyed
very
the
clear.
movie. Except for that, the rap part was tough. But outside of that, and
I do think they missed an opportunity on the title, calling it "Coming to #2 America." I thought they probably could have called it Coming to America Again or Coming Back to America. I didn't like that it's like when you say it out loud, it's the same name. I think that's confusing. Well, y'all, I really want to be true to the way that I normally and have rated movies. I mean, and you're right, y'all. Our criteria is, will it hold up forever? And so what I'm battling with in my mind right now is like, the next time I watch Coming to America, will I want to put on this sequel? Like if you were just having some friends over and y'all were watching Coming to America and the party wasn't over, but the movie was over, would you put on the next movie, Coming to America 2? And Yeah, I feel like I would. I feel like I would put on Coming to America too. So then I'm sitting here thinking like the point Brittany was raising about could this movie stand alone? And when you think about a sequel like Sister Act 2 as the bar that Tanya put that out there right at the beginning of this podcast,
she
is like,
did.
What is a sequel? Toya. I mean, it's like, can this movie stand alone and be awesome in and of itself? It can't. I'm still so torn, y'all. But one thing about a classic is you know it when you see it. And the fact that I'm torn about it's like, and I'm going to tell y'all, this conversation really has changed, has brought me into this murky place, because at the top, I was so focused on the fact that I enjoyed the movie as much as I did that
with your libation.
I just enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was what I expected it to be.
I agree.
I thought it honored the original. I thought it, and it just, to me, it was a plausible premise. I agree. But is it a classic like Sister Act 2?
I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah, it's late. Sitting it next to Sister Act 2. I can't give it a globe. I'm shocked that that's what's coming out of my mouth right now. I have to say, I'm shocked, but I think it's a great movie. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's a classic. I hate that's my conclusion, but it is
and
based on this conversation.
And sometimes movies,
I don't agree with your statement that it was a bad movie. I think it was a good movie. I think it was well done. I don't think it has the classic.
Who directed this movie?
I'm saying like there are
directed by Craig Brewer, produced by Kevin Misher, Eddie Murphy. Screenplay, it was the same two from the original, Barry Sheffield and David Sheffield and Barry Blostein, but then in addition, Kenya Barris.
Okay. See, because our cousin Deshaun, he put on here, I like Blackish, but Kenya Barris be doing the most on his other projects though. And so I was like, why would he say that? But that puts even more into perspective to me what was wrong with this movie. Kenya Barris, shout out, but I wouldn't have put him on this movie. That's just, now you know who I would have put on this movie. As I would have put Issa Rae on this movie. I would have had Issa Rae produce.
You know, it's funny.
She would have
Rada Blank.
Rada Blank. These people that could get into the movie, respect it, and then make it something else.
Rada Blank would have done it.
They would have killed it. But thank you, Deshaun, for pointing that out.
And you're right. You're right. Issa would have knocked it out of the park.
I do agree. Yeah, Issa would have killed it. She would have killed this. And the other thing about Issa is,
and why don't they have a woman? Can somebody ask the question? You dealing with women's issues and you don't have a woman?
because the thing about Issa Rae. The thing about Issa Rae, she has a very now comedy.
Yes,
but she respects the 90s and like,
and it's still no holds barred. Yeah, like she goes as far as you can. She goes far, and even in 2020, it's hard to do that. So yeah, it's funny. Like I didn't really feel what you were saying until you were like. Because in my mind, like, I don't know how this really could have been different. But then when you said that name, Issa Rae, I was like, yeah, that would have been interesting.
And also think about 40-year-old version. Think about 40-year-old version. Go ahead, sis.
I need Mara to respond. Mara put in here, he's responsible for Leslie's character. Mara, are you saying Kenya Barris is responsible for Leslie Jones' character in this movie? Please clarify that in this comment.
Please
finish this. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna struggle with people characterizing Leslie Jones's portrayal as over the top. I just didn't think it was, y'all, because we've seen over the top. I thought she did a great job. I really did.
I thought it was, and I like that little part. I feel like there were certain parts where you got a chance to really see some comedy in the part when they were at the apartment. And they came in, and I feel like they let them have like little sidelines because Lunel she was like, there's only 10 candles. And Lunel was like, yeah, she said, well, break them in half so they can look like 31. And Lunel was like, but that's only going to be 20. And I was like, that is the only time I cracked up. I was like, she was like, that's only going to be 20. But I felt like that's just, it felt like normal conversation
like
that you would have.
And look, the funny thing is, that was one of the funniest lines. But 10 years from now, ain't nobody going to be like, yo, cut them candles in half so we got 20. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean,
I think though that we could do that. Let's do that. Let's
honestly, when I think about, bro, honestly, your that is the statement that actually snatched my globe from this movie, is about the fact that all of the things that are the funny takeaways were reminders of the first movie, like the things that would be the memorable thing. Because again, did I crack up when the guy was like, that boy's good? And I did, but that's from the first movie. So I think they just did. I think if we were to look at it though, as a sequel, if we were to just really look at it as a sequel, and we were not rating whether it was a classic for all time, but rating it as whether it did its job as a sequel, I would have given it a Globe. Because I do think it did that. I think it just honored the first movie in the right way, added enough new in the right way, and really. And I thought the actors were good. I mean, I got to tell you, Sherry Headley in the first one, I was like, Sherry Headley, 2 more sessions with the acting coach would help. I thought she did a great job in this one. Like, she was better in this one.
She Lisa.
She was. Look, Janai, honestly, if we were just going sequel, I
would have given it a Globe.
Yeah, I probably could get with you.
Our perspectives would be different. It would be different.
Is it a classic for all time? It just is not. So that's the right perspective, y'all. That's the right coming to America.
And look, whoever hung with us for this 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Listen, shout out to Mara. Shout out to Toya.
Don't say all the names. I don't want to know who logged off.
Y'all, we didn't really have pre-show talk this time because we went live. Normally, y'all, we have a pre-show conversation and we kind of talk about what the next podcast might be. So, y'all, I have a recommendation I want to put out there.
Well, first of all, one quick question while you're doing your recommendation. You vetoed my flag, and I didn't use the flag for the. But I want to know: is it okay if I use my
veto an overstatement? I want to go ahead and say it was, because you said, "Should I use the Munda or should I use the flag?"
When I'm saying that, it's a nice way of asking you all what I'm going to be putting on. So
but I just don't want people thinking that I have the kind of veto power that you and Brittany have, because that would be a mischaracterization of our relationship.
Hold on, don't put me in this conversation.
Oh, little children,
I'm only a man of my own business.
All I'm asking is,
which is exactly what a person with veto power would say. Well done.
When you're going into your final text, can I put up my flag?
Do it, bro. Do it, bro.
Zamunda!
Oh my gosh. Can we please talk about in the first movie when they were in the stadium and those two guys that were from Zamunda saw Akeem?
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I wish they would have brought back that music. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. I was like, that would have been hot if they would. I would have liked that bring back, because that was like,
man, that was Jaffer's music. Yeah, I know we're out of time. We didn't even talk about the soundtracks of either movie, but that's a good
it was like, honestly, there was just no way. I knew we were going to be on long.
Yeah,
but like, I just want to say that I want to clarify that. Like, look, I enjoyed this movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, I would
see it.
Definitely go see it, and you are going to have a great time watching this movie. You're going to have
But you do need to watch the first one first. You do.
Yes, gotta watch the first one. And when you're watching it, just let it be what it is. Just don't try. Just just enjoy yourself. Fun. Just go along for the ride.
It is.
Go along for the ride, and you're gonna have a ball.
And I also think it's one of those things that if it's ever on television, you would watch it again. So
that is going to be the test. And I'm gonna tell you,
I wouldn't turn it off.
Whenever that happens, and I don't know when it's going to happen, but whenever that happens, and I randomly see coming to America,
it's a missed opportunity for them to give it a different
Mara,
name.
Thank you. Mara brought up John Legend. Thank you, Mara.
I wanted to say something about that. All of the bloopers at the end, I really appreciate it.
I didn't appreciate John Legend at the end, but that's fine.
Really? Oh, again. Okay. Well, we don't need to reopen. There's a lot more, y'all.
There's a lot more.
These movies There's a lot more we didn't have time to get into. So would highly recommend that you take in both. Even though only the first one is a classic from the Wright perspective. Now, y'all, my recommendation for our next one actually comes from a recent party I went to. This was my first party since the pandemic, a dinner party, which is a handful of folks. And so needless to say, it was epic just because it was like, oh, look, I'm in a room with people. So one of the things that we talked about was the Hannibal Lecter franchise. And I learned at this dinner party that there is like a whole universe that has spun off from the movie Silence of the Lambs. I didn't know that. I had no idea. And it's a whole universe. And I'm like, you know what? I generally don't like movies that have like a visual, like jarringness like that, because I feel like I'll get nightmares, because I do get nightmares. But when we look at the movies that we have watched and reviewed and shows for the Wright perspective, we haven't done a horror or a thriller, like a psychological thriller. And I think we should check that box, y'all. And I think Silence of the Lambs, because of the epic nature of it.
Girl.
Oh, well.
You're like, here's the gate, bust it out.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not my kind of movie. I've never seen it, but I like it.
And I'm not going to spoil this movie for you, but it's not that bad.
Okay. That's what they said. That's what everybody was like, it's not going to give you nightmares. It's just a couple.
No. It's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. So, but yes, I would. So we're just talking about the first one?
Just the first one.
Let's do it.
There's more than one? Brittany, there's a lot.
The Lambs is still quiet?
There's a whole universe.
They ain't spoke up yet.
But what I'm saying is, yes, I'm down to do the first one. Mm-hmm. That is, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So tune in to the Wright Perspective. We are on every single podcasting platform there is. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. We're on all the social media platforms, y'all. And on March 20th, please look forward to our episode on Silence of the Lambs. Thank you all for joining us and hanging in there. Bye.
All right.
Bye, you guys.
All right. Have a great night.